What up, peeps? It's Mr. Worthen, back at you again. Yesterday, you guys learned about the quadratic formula. However, on yesterday's problems, you theoretically could have done all of them with factoring, like easy trinomials, hard trinomials, GCF, that kind of stuff, kind of like we did in Unit 10. Today, you're going to see why we need the quadratic formula at times. When our answers are not pretty, nice, happy points, the quadratic formula is going to be the only way we have to come up with the exact answer. And again, same exact formula we used yesterday. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we're going to use the exact same formula. And if you look at this first problem, if I tried to do this, don't write this down, just listen. If I tried to do this the way I did chapter 10 problems, I would say that's a hard trinomial, a trinomial that has a coefficient bigger than 1, leading coefficient. And I would have to find something that multiplies to negative 18, 2 times negative 9, and adds to 6. Well, you could sit here all day, and you are not going to find anything that multiplies to negative 18 and add to 6. So you would be stuck. However, there is still an answer to this problem, which is where the quadratic formula comes into play. So, and I know it's annoying to have 3 different ways to do, I mean, you learn square roots, you learn quadratic formula, you learn factoring. It's annoying, but they all have their own purpose and their own times when they're useful. So, quadratic formula, got to find ABC. 2, 6, negative 9. Now it turns into a big old order of operations problem. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. Watch out for positives and negatives. That's where many of our mistakes end up. All over 2a. So 2 from the formula, and then the a was also 2. X equals. Start grinding now. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of. I'm going to do all of this before I do any square rooting. 36 plus negative 72 all over 4. X equals negative 6 plus or minus. I can't start talking about square rooting until I put those together. So don't be like, oh, 36, it's 6. No. This is one number, and it ain't 36. Add those together, and I get 108 all over 4. Okay, so this is where it starts to get cray-cray. I got to go back to Unit 8, what we did at the very beginning of the semester, and say, can I simplify the square root of 108? And sometimes you'll be able to, sometimes you won't. But I got to try. And if I start breaking 108 down, I get 2 and 54. 54 is 2 and 27. 27 is 3 and 9. 9 is 3 and 3. And now I go back to what we did in Unit 8, and we look for pairs. And then we have one lonely 3 out there. So I'm going to pull 1, 2 out, pull 1, 3 out. So I end up with, actually, let me just write it over here so you're clear. A 2 and a 3 came out. There was 1 3 left inside. All right? Which is really 6 root 3. So when I simplified square root of 108, this is one huge problem. That is just one step of these even bigger problems. Square root of 108 is really 6 root 3. So now as I rewrite, negative 6 plus or minus 6 root 3 all over 4. As if that wasn't enough. Now I've got to ask myself, can I reduce this fraction? And when we're reducing, this is a little sketchy. Because there's two terms up here and one term down there, I have to find a number that goes into all three of those if I want to reduce. And in this case, 2 will go into him, him, and him. Please notice, I am really talking about him, not him. That's one whole number. But when I'm reducing, it's only the number on the outside because he's outside, he's outside, he's outside. And I get x equals -3. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Plus or minus. 2 goes into 6 3 times. The root 3 just chilling. I ain't messing with him. He's inside. He's in his own world. And then 2 goes into 4 twice. And this is generally how you will see your answer written. And that is a cray-cray looking answer. It is an ugly, nasty, not friendly number. Crazy decimals. But that would be the exact solutions to this problem. Now, I say solutions because technically this is -3 plus 3 root 3 over 2. And -3 minus 3 root 3 over 2. So technically there are two separate answers here. If I were to throw that into my calculator, I'd get some weird decimal. If I were to throw that in my calculator, I'd get some weird decimal. I would say you could see it this way, but more often than not, you'll see it that way. Okay. That's a big problem. There's a lot of places to make mistakes. Hit pause. Go try A. Okay, if you did A correctly, and you didn't mess up signage, B was negative, so was C, we should have gotten down to this stage, combine 25 and 28 to get 53. Now, this problem was significantly easier because I could not break down 53. There was nothing I could simplify to reduce that radical. And there is nothing that will go into those three numbers evenly. So we were able to just stop there. Now the hard part is you're going to have to ask yourself, when can I stop? Have I gone far enough? And that becomes a kind of a tough question that takes some practice. All right, let's go on. Let's do one more. Got a little feistier on this guy. Got feistier because it's not equal to 0. It's got some distributing that I got to do. All right, who cares? I can do that. 8 plus 4x squared. 4x times x squared. Minus 8x equals 19. I have to set it equal to 0 and then put it in standard form. So I'm going to minus 19 minus 19. Please notice I lined up the 19 with the 8 because they were both constants. However, I'm going to write 4x squared first because he's got the biggest degree, the biggest exponent. Then I'm going to write negative 8x. And then I'm going to do 8 minus 19, which is negative 11, equals 0. So just rewriting that guy could cause you some problems. Now I have to do ABC. Now I got to do quadratic formula. X equals negative b. A negative negative is a positive. Plus or minus square root of. Please notice the parentheses. I know we've talked about it, but if you just type negative 8 squared in your calculator, depending on how good your calculator is, you might just get negative 64, when in reality that should be positive 64. Minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Keep grinding. X equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 plus negative times negative. That's why I got plus. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 11 is, I got to double check because I don't know. My bad. 176 all over 8. X equals 8 plus or minus the square root of. Combine, we end up with 240 over 8. I got to ask myself, can I simplify this 240 at all? So I go off to the side. Square root 240, 10 and 24, 5 and 2, 2 and 12, 4 and 3, 2 and 2. And now again, I'm looking at all my prime factors and looking for pairs. I got 2 2s, one can come out. I got 2 2s, one can come out. So I end up with 2 2s on the outside. I said 2 2. The 5 and the 3 had nobody to battle with, so they couldn't make it out. And square root 240 simplifies into 4 root 15. So now, rewrite 8 plus or minus 4 root 15 over 8. Now see if there's any reducing you can do. Reducing is different than simplifying the radical. Reducing is looking at, is there something that will go into all three of those outside numbers? And in this case, 4 will. 4 goes into 8 twice, plus or minus. 4 goes into 4 once. Root 15 just chilling. 4 goes into 8 twice. Okay, I wrote the 1 out here, but generally in multiple choice world, you would not see that 1 written there. You would just see plus or minus root 15. Now, I'm not going to yell at you if you write the 1, but I just want you to be aware in multiple choice land, this is probably how you'd see it. Right on. Go try B on your own. Hit pause. Give it a shot. There's only 4 problems in today's notes. You better practice. Hopefully you paused and tried to do it on your own. But I'm going to walk you through it quickly. I distributed. Then I had to set it equal to 0. So I chose to minus 15 and add 5a in order to keep my a squared positive. The 5a and the a became 6a. The minus 15 had nobody to combine with, so he was just chilling at the end. And then I was ready to do the quadratic formula. A, B, C. Threw it in. Started grinding. Ended up with square root of 96. Had to go off to the side. Break down square root of 96. I ended up having 2 4s. 1 dies, 1 gets set free. I had a 3 and a 2 left. That's where the 6 came from. So square root of 96 was really 4 root 6. And then I had to ask, can I reduce? And in this case, when you look at those 3 numbers, 2 can go into all of them. 2 went into 6 3 times. 2 went into 4 twice. 2 went into itself once. Technically, there was a 1 on the bottom. But if it's a 1 on the bottom, we don't need to write it, so you won't see it. And we end up with negative 3 plus or minus 2 root 6 is our final answer. Okay. NGL, folks, today's a feisty day. You need to grind on this homework and not just fake it. Pretty important skill that we're talking about today. Good luck. Wish you the best. Have a great day. Bye-bye.